Scrappy people, Tracy Reed here today, coming at you with a TRD Sketchy Sunday using this sketch. Today is number 26, and you can see it's a fairly simple sketch. I do need to adapt it to a Life Crafted album size, and I'm going to flip it and turn it and switch it around, but you'll see it's the same sketch, just oriented a little bit differently. I initially wanted my photo to be on the right-hand side, just because I'm looking towards the left, but I immediately cut my paper wrong that I choose, and so it ends up being on the left hand side, which is fine. I don't love when my photos, like the subject of my photos, face off the page, but I survived. You can see if I tried to rotate that pattern around so that it fit better on around my photo, it would be upside down. So everything had to go to the left, which is fine. I'm using the Harvest Moon collection today from my website. The Harvest Moon collection is sort of an end of summer, beginning of fall collection, but the colors in the Harvest Moon collection match this photo really well. The lavender lilac color matches the concrete in this photo really well without it being gray. And then of course there's the blue sky, and then I always have to add rainbows when I can, so the stripe made an appearance as well. So all I did for these triangles was cut a square piece of paper. I started with 5x5 and for the smaller ones 3x3, but I ended up cutting them each down an inch smaller because they were just a little bit too big for this size paper. But once I cut the 4x4 and 3x3 squares of the papers that I wanted, then I just cut them diagonally down the center, just like you would a sandwich. And I had triangles, so it was perfection. What I ended up doing was I cut 5x5 piece of paper, and then when I had two triangles, then I cut the second triangle smaller so that it was not the same size. So I ended up cutting those after I had cut them into triangles, not before. I'm going to use these fun sparkly alphas from American Crafts, and then I really like this pink rose gold one as well. I like the way that it sort of blends in with that purple without being the exact same color. So this is Crown Fountain in Chicago. And it's a really cool fountain. It actually has screens behind the water, and when you look at the photo or look at the fountain, the water looks like it's coming out of the people who are up on the screen, their mouth. So it's really fun sort of art installation, but I liked the peaceful side of the fountain better, where no one was looking at the photos, so I could be over there by myself. And I'm just sort of, my husband took this photo, I'm sort of looking up at the top of the fountain. It was majestic, and water is sort of my thing. I love all forms of water, especially falling or rushing water. The sound is very soothing to me. So I just took a few minutes while we were walking around downtown and gave myself a chance to check out the fountain and just enjoy the piece for a minute. And my husband took photos while I was doing it. So I actually don't have a lot of non-fallish embellishments from the Harvest Moon collection left. I had these rainbows, so they made an appearance, and I'm actually really diverting from the sketch at this point. I used it as a base, and then I just did my own thing. But I'm using these rainbows, and then I keep trying to incorporate these circles, but they're a little bit large, so I struggled a bit. So what I did instead was I cut out some paper strips so that I could add my journaling and sort of figure out where those were going to go while I thought about how I wanted to decorate. I really do need to print out quite a few of my collections again, because I have been making it a point this year especially to use them a couple times a week, so I'm starting to run low on everything I printed. The joy of scrapbook printables, though, is that I can just reprint whatever I want to reprint. I don't have to go find it in a store again. It's not out of print, which happens with a lot of our favorite collections. So that is really gratifying for me when using my own product, is I know that I can use whatever I want and I'm not ever going to run out of it. So I'm adding in some word bits here and there, and I decide that I want to bring in some texture with some wood veneer as well. So I'm going to do that here in a second. I didn't want to add in all sentiments. I wanted to add in some shapes as well. So I grabbed some freckled fawn hearts that I bought a while back. I like the outline hearts with this page, so I'm sort of adding them in a few places, creating a visual triangle with them, or a diagonal line. I like both. Sometimes I use a triangle, sometimes I use a diagonal line, but I liked the diagonal line on this page especially because it matched the diagonal of the triangles as well. So you can see they're all kind of on the same visual angle. So I'm looking at this going, okay, I like it, but I definitely should have moved the whole composition up. It shouldn't have been grounded on the bottom of the page. I thought I was going to do something different initially, so that's why I put it at the bottom of the page, and also the sketch is sort of centered towards the bottom of the page as well, but there was just not... There's too much white space going on, and if it had been a pattern paper in the background, I probably would have liked it more, but because I didn't have any pattern paper in the background, I decided that I needed to add to the top of this page. So the best way for me to do that initially was to add in just a doodly line around the outside edge of the whole layout. This sort of grounds the layout, which is especially good when you are using white as a background paper. It kind of gives your eyes somewhere to stop instead of just going straight up off the page. So I'm adding a double doodle because if you're a little bit messy, why not be completely messy? Plus it also adds to the visual weight of the line. Then I'm going to add in a date to the top left-hand corner with my date stamp. And I still decide at this point that that's just not quite enough. There's too much space between the date at the top, no matter how many times I stamp the date. Too much space between the date at the top and the photo cluster. So you can see I'm trying to mitigate that space with another word bit. Maybe another wood veneer. I'm just kind of trying to figure out how to fix this, and I decide that I'm definitely just going to have to suck it up and add in some watercolor in the background because there's just too much space up there for me. I'm not a white space scrapbooker. I love people who can do it and commit to it and make really gorgeous white space pages, but like for me, everything has to be completely filled up. So I just stamped some Catherine Pooler ink on my stamp block actually, and I'm just going to use the packaging technique, and I'm going to pull up my whole composition over here, and I'm just going to very carefully add in a little bit of watercolor behind. It's kind of hard to see on camera. You'll be able to see it better when you see the still photos at the end, but the color is almost exact to the purple that's in the background, so it's a good foil for that purple. I use that word a lot. Somebody pointed out that they were happy they took English because they knew what I meant by using foil, but I thought it was funny, so now I've said it again. But anyway, that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Traci M. Reed. I'd love to see you over there as well. There is a link to the Sketchy Sunday blog post in the description box below that has a link to the Harvest Moon kit, as well as a bunch of other examples using this sketch. All right, I will see you next time. Thank you.